Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jehlial, and I am here today to talk about the astrological energies of the next week from July 6th. I was about to say 16th, until July 12th. So, as I anticipated in previous videos, we are already in the most shaky period of the year, and certainly there are a lot of people that are they have been experimenting the 2026 like this from its beginnings, but well, it is just that we are experimenting this very transformative collective moment. This is a period of history, as you know, we had it before, but in other ways. That is a point of inflection where all the constructions, all the social constructions are collapsing, and we are making this transition to other creative potential as a society. And this is never something comfortable nor calm. So each one of us, we have to learn to find our own inner shelter, our own center, through what we are transiting, in order for this, in order to find or to being able to be a bridge of real help for other people. This is not a help that we are offering to buy validation. And in order to recognize when we genuinely need that support in other people too, that is not being born from this emotional dependency, that is in imbalance. So I'm going to start to describe the astrological transits in a chronological order, and in the end, I'm going to talk a little bit of the events of the next week because we are going to feel them before. We have a new moon in Cancer that is on July 14th that has very intense aspects, very disruptive ones, and it is the one that is opening up the eclipses season. I am going to expand over on this in the next video. It is just for you to understand why you could be feeling very, very moved. Okay, let's begin with July 6th. The Sun in Cancer perfects this square with Saturn in Aries. This is an aspect that I have been talking a lot in the last two videos because this participated of the full moon in Capricorn, and it is going to be still active for the new moon in Cancer with 7 degrees of distance, in a separative distance, but it is still part of the configuration. This means that there is something you have already identified, that you brought to the awareness. This is what the sun does. That requires a decision from responsibility. Could be something that you have to begin right now. Could be a decision that involves greater independence of something or someone. Could be a boundary to a familiar dynamic that we need to put, because that is pushing us away from building or materializing something that we truly want to see in our reality, or it is preventing us from nourishing something that we were already building. So there could be people that are feeling this as life kicking the crap of them out. I don't know if I said that expression correctly, with conflictive scenes. Could be scenes of frustration or restrictions, so they can really decide or begin for once, that project or whatever thing they have to do. And other people could perceive this as a very slow process, because the dynamic they need to change is actually something that they require to sustain. Those decisions or those boundaries, they have to sustain them in a consistent way in time, because that is what is going to lead them to other results or to transcend certain blockages or obstacles. Anger is going to be the greatest signal of what is in imbalance, and then squares with Saturn could also express in this in these polarizations. I mean, instead of assuming responsibility, people could anchor themselves in guiltiness or in excessive self-exigency, or instead of assuming situations as lessons of maturity, people could position themselves on victimization or keep forcing something in a very insistent way, that it is not working. And with this, I'm not trying to say that we have to repress our emotional states. We could give a space for them and still opening up to what life actually wants to show us. The second event that I'm going to talk about, you could be feeling already this in a very strong way, because it's the retrogradation of Neptune in Aries. It is going to be retrograde since July 7th until December 12th. And when transpersonal planets are changing their motion, we perceive this a lot in the individual level and collective, of course, too, because actually transpersonal planets are ruling collective processes. On the individual level, the Neptunian effect many times could make us feel a little bit weird, like with low energy or ungrounded, or with the sensation that we are like floating among dimensions. There could be an strange sensation, dreams with a lot of information. So how could this be expressed in our reality? Actually, Neptune, it is the planet that is associated with the energetical levels. So wait a moment. And some people could be feeling a little bit confused over the directions that they were assuming, and precisely there could be this falling of veils of what truly is a fantasy, a mental focus in which we want to believe, but not necessarily is in our possibilities to materialize. And also, on the contrary, having to reaffirm what we intuitively feel or perceive over those directions or actions. This is Neptune in Aries. I mean, many times we don't have this empiric evidence over the results that a direction could bring. But if we are disconnecting ourselves from that intuition, the path loses sense, and we could enter in this crisis because we believe that we are lost and that we are going nowhere. I am referring that these kind of aspects are the ones that in the next months we are going to reconsider or reevaluate how much we are moving forward connected with our intuition, and how much of the things that we have already initiated or taken action in responded to this escapism or denial of reality. So, these are topics very linked with Neptune. Okay, July 9th, Venus enters Virgo, and this entrance is truly important because Venus is going to have a lot of aspects at the beginning that also participate of the configuration of the new moon. Venus in Virgo is this desire that can take form when we are taking it to the practicality of the matter. If there is something that we truly want to create or attract in our reality, Venus in Virgo invites us to see how, through our decisions or consistent practices in a routine, we could carry ourselves to that. And topics regarding relationships and material resources are going to be the central focus. And I wanted to remind you that they are connected. They are not separated things, because the value that we are giving to ourselves, to our energy, attention, or time that we could dedicate to a person or a project is also reflected in our reality. So in here, this is about creating this discernment of how the tiny acts in the daily life, in the things that we are giving or receiving, I mean the dynamics, the energetical exchanges could being born, they are born from this lack or this emotional voids. Or when we are truly being, at service, when we are offering or receiving this help or dedicating some of our energy to something that truly feels no imbalance, and that is truly not causing an energetical drain. So I am commenting all of this because Venus is going to do an immediate conjunction with the South Node in Virgo, therefore opposition with the North Node in Pisces. It is going to create a trine with Chiron in Taurus, and a square with Uranus in Gemini that is going to be perfected the next week. This is very important because the stimulation of the lunar nodes, we are talking of something and that we are already in detection of. I mean, the situations that could be manifested, we have been experimenting that in different ways in the last year and a half. They were the axis in the past eclipse seasons since January of 2025, actually the end of 2024. And we are saying goodbye to these lunar nodes. This is the last month. Venus going through the south node is inviting us to let go of something that we already know that cannot accompany our evolutionary experience. This could be a relationship, this could be a form of service, a job, could be a habit or a behavior that we are doing that perhaps involves helping others to feel validated, and not because we truly want to offer that help, or taking more energy of other people because it's comfortable, but truly is not helping us to grow. And there is this, this act of taking advantages of the vulnerabilities of the other person. We could do that in an unconscious way. Could also be patterns of perfectionism or renouncement towards oneself to fit the expectations of other people. Also habits that imply, running away from our reality. So the trine with Chiron Taurus, that is an aspect, a harmonic aspect, could be of great help to change those things that many times we choose from this place of not giving value to ourselves, from these imbalances in our self-esteem, from seeking acceptance from other people by putting aside our essential values, and therefore betraying ourselves. So this trine could be the opportunity to see the wound without, having the need of disappearing it, because we cannot change the experiences that were painful and that perhaps left an impact in us, but we can stop allowing those experiences to condition our behaviors. And in that process of choosing from the values that we truly want to cultivate in our relationships, and and also in the relationship with our material resources, this means not doing from fear of losing something or to retain, but doing from the most generous space that we can express with ourselves and with our and with other people, our people. This could enable healing. And you have to be aware that generosity could also be seen as limiting the energy that we are giving to certain people or situations, because that is truly allowing them to grow and allowing that to ourselves. So anyways, if there is much resistance or denial regarding these changes, the square with Uranus in Gemini that is going to increase its energy towards the new moon is going to be perfected one day before. In fact, it is going to generate a certain chaos. So we are stopping forcing an order that is not contributing with anyone in the end. And this could bring situations that are very unexpected, that are not comfortable, that we cannot control. For some people, could be linked with manifestations in the physical body that is very linked with these lunar nodes. And all of that are indicators of the habits that we need to leave behind, or the familiar spaces, the specific ones. All of that is happening as we can, so we can read that as signals of what we need to do differently regarding Venus, the topics of Venus. And I wanted to remind you that when I say relationships, I am not talking about, the romantic ones only. This could be manifested with every person, and in the context with the Cancerian energy, for many people the focus is going to be in the familiar system. At last but no least, on July 12th, the Sun in Cancer is going to make a conjunction with Mercury retrograde. Mercury is retrograding right now, and this is what we call in astrology the inferior conjunction. It is always given in the middle of the retrogradation. And this is another one. This is another one of the seals of the new moon, with the opposition of Jupiter in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, retrograde in Aquarius, that is going to be very, very intense. I talked about this the last week if you want to rewatch that video. But coming back to the conjunction between the Sun and Mercury retrograde in Cancer, here we have an experience of information that is very illuminating. I am referring that there is something that we are turning aware of, turning ourselves aware of. Could be a conversation, a news, or other form in which that information is reaching us and that is helping to understand something. Could be something linked with our past, because the energy of Cancer is very linked with that. Memories that give, other perspective to a situation, or their relationship with our family, or the environment when we were children, or behaviors that we are sustaining as this emotional shelter that could be nourishing, both the ones that could be nourishing that we need to continue to feed, or on the contrary, the ones that aren't. And now we could find this different perspective, or the origin is revealed, or the experience that is impulsing that. Many times the information could change a lot how we were experimenting our reality regarding these topics, the Cancerian topics. And because of all the aspects that I've been mentioning along the video, many times this information could be something that is not that comfortable. I mean, we don't always assimilate light, the things that we didn't see before, in a receptive way, because that imply letting go of forms in which parts of us that we have identified, that we have made identity, or dynamics that we have attached to create this emotional security that is very linked with Cancer, but that are being born from immature aspects in us. So I'm going to close this video here. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.